pressure.
Welcome viewers to the Subaru only channel. Here you'll be shown how to do anything Subaru here at home. Now before we get started, let's discuss what you need to get this project going. First off, you need your sheet of plastic. Doesn't matter what size, thickness it is. Mine is a 1/4 inch thick. Could be square, circular, whatever it may be. Just make sure it's big enough for what you need it for. Then a cardboard box, thick paper, construction paper, whatever it may be, something thick so that you can cut a decent template out of. A ruler to help you keep the measurements right when making the template. A strut top hat, or a strut with the top hat still on there. You'll need the front and the rear. This is the rear. Then a marker so that you can mark on your plastic with the template. A hammer just in case any of the pieces get stuck while cutting. An X-Acto knife for cutting the template. A jigsaw with preferably a metal cutting blade. Any blade will really work, but less teeth blades like wood cutting and stuff like that tend to build up a lot of plastic shavings and makes a horrid smell. And then you need a drill with a big enough drill bit that's bigger than the jigsaw blade. Reason for that being is you cannot plunge cut with a jigsaw. So you need to make a hole prior to cut out this center hole here. You will also need a sander or just some sandpaper. And then you need, of course, epoxy. Preferably plastic bonding epoxy. Okay, now to get this started, you need to make one of these. And how I made that is I took a piece of a dryer sheet box. You can use cardboard paper, whatever you want to call it. And you want to place it over your top hat here. I have a spare one, a new one, that I'm going to be installing. And I just push it down on a carpet or a soft surface, a pillow or something, and it'll get indentations in the cardboard. And then from there you take your X-Acto knife, cut out those holes. Now you put that back on to the top hat, and you just guesstimate how big that inner circle is. You keep going, make it bigger if you need to make it fit better, but only going in steps so you don't make it too big and have to make another one. Okay, now after you've done that, you'll have something like this, as you've already seen. Now you want to take your piece of plastic, right, place it on your piece of plastic. What I did first is I used a dry erase marker to figure out how many I could fit on this entire sheet at once, count it up, and see how I'm going to position it. You should do the same too. Now, once you've got the placements right, just trace it around, including the holes for the bolts. Try not to move it. I'm only doing this for demonstrations. Should come out looking like that. Now thankfully, I already went ahead and did the entire thing. So go ahead, get your stuff cut out. Now what I have here is subframe spacers. Those are going to assist me on spacing the subframe on the rear, so that I don't have any issues back there. These little squares inside the circles that you'll be cutting out will also be cut out into subframe spacers as well. Now for the center holes, you will want to make sure that you drill a hole on the outer edge of the line. You don't want to drill it directly on it, you want to go on the inside of it. You want the outside of the hole to be on that outside line. Now, when you go to cut it, you're going to just go right ahead and go through it. You don't have to plunge cut. You can't do that with these anyways.
Their souls pass through the morning fog, and her eyes whisper words that her mouth cannot. Keen for the purpose of finding one thing, that feeling you get when you suddenly know.
Okay, so what these are going to be your subframe spacers, or you can use them for the trailing arm spacers. It's really all up to you, but I think for the trailing arm spacers, I got these marks on there, cutouts, so that we can do a rectangular shape instead for the trailing arm spacers, and then just round off one edge. Now, as you saw, I left one fully cut, not with a hole in the middle. Well, that's because that's going to be the very top of your spacer. Now, if you're going for like a, let's say, 1 inch or lift, or just a saggy butt spacer, you won't need this. But in the rear, it does allow clearance for this to be plopped on top if you're going for, like, say, a 2 inch. But if you're just going for a 1 inch, that's all you need right there, just the one piece with the hole cut out in the center. Now we're going to get to the sanding part. Now, if you would like, you can get these burrs off with the sander before you glue them together, but we're more interested in these surfaces right here. We want to sand those down so that the adhesive will actually grab on. Okay, now the next step is to figure out which piece you want on the bottom. For me, I'm going to go with the thickest piece. We're going to be sanding it down anyways. And the reason why I say that is because when you're cutting, your cuts aren't going to be 100% precise. And you want to stack them up in an order that you like it, in a way where it's not too uneven. Get what I'm saying? Then you put your top piece on, and then number 1 being the top piece, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, for me at least. Now this lift only gives me 3 inches, 3 3/4 of lift. because these are only 3/4 of an inch big, not a full inch. But your stuff can be an inch, could be half an inch, could be more than an inch, it could be 2 inches thick. Next step is to clean the surfaces. You're going to take your rubbing alcohol, put it on a rag. Don't have to go to a wall, but enough to soak the surfaces. Get them all cleaned up of all the dust and debris that may be collected on there. Just like so. You're going to go ahead and do that to the rest of them. Forgot to record putting the glue in here, epoxy I should say. But what you want to do now is mix your epoxy up. And make sure you really mix it. Prefer getting gloves for this. If you don't have gloves, this is going to get everywhere. And it's going to make cleaning up one heck of a mess. Now from this point, you can let this get slightly tacky. But this is a 5-minute epoxy. So I'm going to start working it in onto the part. And as I'm doing that, it starts setting. It'll start tacking out pretty much right away. You're only putting a thin layer on it, but not too thin. I want to put enough, but not too much. Just going to squirt out the sides. You'll take care of that later with the belt sander. Okay, now at this point, after you got it all lined up, you can leave it set for about 5-10 more minutes for it to get even more tacky so it doesn't move too much on you. But I'm going to be using, I'd say about 10, 15, 20 pounds of metal here. I'm going to plop that on top, make sure that the surface is level underneath it so that it doesn't start scooting one side to another. And start scooting one side, move it over a little bit. That's what cardboard's good for. Get a couple layers on the sides so you can level it out a bit. Once you get it level to where it's not moving nowhere, let that sit for at least an hour with the weight on it. Then you can take it off if you want to and let it sit overnight to cure. Alright, now we're going to get to belt sanding the sides here. Now you can use the original sander I was using earlier, but that's going to take some time. So I went out and bought a belt sander for $28. It comes with 80 grit sandpaper, and that's all you need here. So what you're going to want to do is sand down these uneven edges here. As you can see, it's catching. It's all lopsided and unevenly cut. We're going to make that nice and smooth. Okay, now once you're done with that part, you're going to want to take the drill, upgrade the drill bit size, and drill as straight as you possibly can through the top holes that you've already made on the very top piece that you test fitted previously. Now once you've done that, you're going to want to take your top hat, whether it's on the strut or not, and place it on the other side. Make sure that the holes you drilled are straight, and if not, then correct it. Maybe drill through this side or that side, whatever you have to do to correct that. But it should look like this. You can paint it, you can do whatever you want. You can just leave it the plain color that the material is. I painted mine. Now another note there is you're going to want to bring this with you to the hardware store to find bolts that will fit in there, along with fitting through the holes once you knock these old bolts out here. So you want to find a bolt that is 1.25 inches longer than your lift itself, because you got to make up for that space and also the space on the tower where it mounts. While you're out, get some thread locker, because you're going to want to put some thread locker on the nuts just for added measure. And then you're ready for install. Now I have not forgotten about the subframe spacers and trailer arm spacers. I will be covering that in the install video. But all I can tell you right now is that I will be cutting rectangular shapes for the trailer arms and leaving it circular for the subframe. That's all I can tell you right now. You'll see the rest in the next video, so be sure to watch out for that one. Now, if this video had helped you in any way and you liked it, go ahead, hit the like button and the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that bell so that you can be notified for my future videos.